Chapter 10. Papa. After an early breakfast the next morning, Mom and Caroline sailed on to Kingston. Caroline was excited and nervous and tired. She had set up late last night before, working carefully on her embroidered mat. Uncle Aaron and Aunt Martha had identified the location of every old friend who could no longer be trusted, as well as waterways patrolled most often by British gunboats. Caroline had carefully stitched a warning X at each trouble spot. Now her heart seemed to bang against her ribs as they approached Point Frederick, where Papa was being held. She hadn't been so close to Papa in months. She had to clench her teeth to keep from yelling, "Mama and I are here, Papa. We're coming to help you escape." As she and Mama pulled the skiff up on the beach, a young soldier trotted toward them. He wore white trousers and a scarlet coat with a white crossbelt. His musket held a long bayonet. His black and gold hat was so tall that he looked especially threatening. "Mama," Caroline whispered. Her knees felt wobbly. Mama squeezed Caroline's shoulder. "Have courage, Caroline. If we are not able to win Papa's release, his best chance of escape depends on you and your map." The soldier reached them. "Madame," he said, "this is a military area." "I understand that, sir," Mama said, "but my husband is being held here unjustly. I came to see whoever is in charge." "That's Major Humphreys," he said stiffly. "Follow me." The soldier led them into the fort area. In truth, Caroline thought, there is not much here. She only saw a single two-story blockhouse. Hammers banged as soldiers labored to build a rough wall around the grounds. A civilian man was yelling at an ox pulling a wagon piled with lumber. She stumbled over a rut left by the wagon wheels, but she couldn't tear her gaze from the buildings. Papa was here. Was he in that building or the other one over there? Was he watching them through the windows? She trembled with her longing to run in search, calling for him. Mama took Caroline's hand and gave her a warning look. "I know it's difficult to stay calm, but we must not do anything to anger the soldiers." The soldier took them to one of the wooden buildings, explained his errands to another sentry. Finally, Mama and Caroline were led into a large room that was surprisingly well furnished. A tall chest of drawers gleamed with polish. A mirror hung on one wall, and silver candlesticks and crystal goblets sparkled on a side table. A stern, gray-haired man with red cheeks sat at a table. He was eating beans and bacon from a china plate. A cup of tea steamed beside it. Several papers fanned on the table in front of the man's breakfast. He wiped his mouth on a linen handkerchief and rose to meet Mama and Caroline. "I'm Major Humphreys. You're looking for one of the prisoners, I'm told." He waved his hand toward the two chairs. "Please, sit." Mama introduced them. Caroline perched on the edge of her chair. It seemed impossible that they were truly here, inside a British fort, talking to a British officer. "You've been holding my husband, John Abbott, since last June," Mama began. "He was taken from a merchant ship before we knew the war had been declared. His absence makes life very difficult for me and my daughter." Caroline tried to look frightened and needy. That part wasn't hard. "So I ask you, sir, to release my husband," Mama finished. "He's done nothing wrong." The Major shook his head. "I'm sorry, Madame. We know Mr. Abbott is a shipbuilder. We simply cannot release him." Mama stood very tall, her hands clenched in her lap. For a moment she pressed her lips together. Finally she said Well then, sir, I would like to see my husband." He shook his head. "Can't be done." "Sir?" "Ma'am," Mama said sharply.